So everybody, earlier this week I had the opportunity to get some hands-on time with the brand new Snap Spectacles, and I have some thoughts about these things. Let's get into it. So before we get into my actual experience and I talk to you about what I feel and what I like, what I think needs improvement, I do want to talk about what these Snap Spectacles are for those people that aren't aware of what's going on. So Snap has been known to make these Snap Spectacles over the last few years. I believe 2017 or 2016 was the first time that we saw those round Snap Spectacles that looked more so like a fashion statement, more so than a tech product, but that kind of was the opening ground of what Snap was trying to do with spectacles or with glasses that had actual cameras on there that then can upload directly into your Snapchat account. And that was kind of the birth of what Snap Spectacles were. But now we're kind of in this world of AR and VR and mixed reality, and you have the one side, which is the Vision Pros of the world, which is a complete kind of mask of your entire face, and immersing you into this digital world that kind of still gives you this mixed reality feeling, but at the end of the day, you're not actually seeing and interacting with the physical world, you're seeing exactly what the Vision Pro is showing you. And then you have the other side, which is like the Meta Ray-Bans, which is basically just a normal pair of glasses that looks relatively normal, has a couple cameras on there, and is more so voice activated and has a voice assistant to help out with some day-to-day tasks, but there's nothing on the display, you're not seeing anything, and you're not physically interacting, or I guess digitally physically interacting with the actual Meta glasses. So what Snap is trying to do is kind of fix that middle ground of this virtual reality and this full immersion with still being able to use something like normal looking glasses where you can still see through the actual lenses but still get some sort of UI, some sort of visual feedback on the glasses themselves, and that's what the birth of these new Snap Spectacles are alongside Snap OS. So as I mentioned, we had about an hour or so with the Snap Spectacles to play with them, see what they were like physically, how they fit, how they felt, did they get warm, what you could do with them, what you couldn't do with them. So let's start off with the hardware itself and what you're getting with these Snap Spectacles. So the Snap Spectacles, they are a chunky bit of kit, right? They are big glasses, but it's for good reason, and it's because everything from a compute standpoint is built onto these glasses and into these frames. Probably the coolest feature of the hardware is that you're not tethered to anything. You're not tethered to a battery like you are with the Vision Pro. There's no additional compute puck, there's no wristband, there's nothing else that you need, there's no controller. It is all done with the sensors and the compute that's on these glasses. So to kind of give you guys the specs of what you're going to be dealing with before we get into the actual use cases, this is a dual system on a chip, meaning that there's two Snapdragon processors in here that are splitting the compute. I don't know exactly how it's splitting it, but at the end of the day, you have two computer chips trying to handle everything that's going on in these glasses. And then of course with the hardware itself, like I mentioned, these are relatively large, and when I showed pictures of myself to people that weren't in the tech community, they said that it looked kind of like those 3D glasses that we used to get with those 3D TVs that were kind of popular for a split second there in the early 2010s. So if you've ever seen those 3D glasses, which are just a little bit chunkier, a little bit bigger overall, that's what they kind of look like at first glance. And then the actual stems of the frame, the part that actually goes behind your ear to keep them in place, is actually pretty long. It did extend a little bit past my actual head. Again, it's nothing insane from a fashion standpoint in terms of what you're looking at and how it feels, but just know that these are bigger, they are thicker, and they will extend past your ear because again, they need as much space as possible to jam everything that they have in here. And then you do feel some sort of material difference, and that's because the heat sink is actually on this kind of part that goes over your ear itself on the stem. So that part is cool to the touch when this thing is off because it's trying to dissipate all that heat through these little metal railings that you have on both sides of your head. And now in terms of the sensors and the cameras that they have, there are 4 different cameras on the actual Snap Spectacles, 2 forward-facing, which are going to be color and high-definition ones, because those are the ones that are actually recording, and those are the ones that are going to your Snap Story and things like that. And then you have 2 more cameras that are facing down that are there to actually look at your hand movements, which is your main form of input. Now these are infrared cameras, so they're not going to be used for recording anything. They're mainly there as sensors for your hands and for your gestures to again interact with all that UI. And then in terms of the weight of this thing, you're dealing with about a 226 gram package, which is relatively light because again, everything that you need from a computer standpoint is in these glasses. The battery, the system on a chip, all the sensors, the cameras, the speakers that are built in here, everything is on here. And to contextualize it a little bit, the Vision Pro, which is something that I've used, without the battery pack is 600 grams. So it's about almost 3x the size. And also it could be a little bit heavier depending on if you have the dual band or the solo knit band. So from a weight standpoint, it is much lighter, and you can definitely notice this. Now yes, when I personally put these glasses on, were they heavier than a normal pair of glasses? Of course they were, but were they so much so that it was uncomfortable? Not at all, which is kind of what they're trying to get to. They're trying to get to the point where these things do look like normal glasses, And then at that point is when I think that this is going to become something that's a little bit more mainstream. Right now, the look of it would be a little bit jarring if you do just wear these out in public, but again, I have seen some crazy glasses already out there. So now, what was the experience like using these things? What are they used for? How does it compare to other AR, VR, mixed reality glasses? And overall, just to give you a walkthrough of my demo and what I was able to do with these things. So obviously, they put you through the setup process, which is actually very simple. And the way that it works on this is you put the glasses on, you have 2 buttons on the glasses. Left-hand side is to record, right-hand side is to turn on or reset. And those are the only buttons and the only way that you physically interact by touching these glasses. And then everything else is done on screen on your face. And the way that they're putting actual UI elements on your face or on the lenses, because these are see-through lenses. Like when they're turned off, these just feel like normal glasses. So what they're using is a liquid crystal on silicon mini projector, and they use waveguides in order to actually do this, to be able to project all this UI in front of your face. And again, to continue contextualizing this for the people that have tried something like the Vision Pro or who own a Vision Pro, this is a completely different product in my opinion. But from a field of view standpoint, you're dealing with about 46 degrees on the Snap Spectacles versus about 90 to 106 degrees on the Vision Pro. Again, they're completely different in terms of what product categories they fit in my opinion, but just to give you an idea to contextualize it in your head. But the basic setup process is they actually gave me one of their phones to measure the distance between my eyeballs. Once that's done, I guess it gets uploaded to the actual Snap Spectacles. You put those spectacles on, you turn them on, and then voila, you're right in there, right? And the way that you control everything is similar to the Vision Pro, using this kind of like touch gesture where you're kind of pinching and things like that. It puts you through a little bit of a walkthrough on resizing things, grabbing them, moving them, so you get an idea of what that looks like. But after about a 2-minute kind of getting started demo that you go through, you're pretty much out in the wild. The way that this works is pretty much your left hand or your right hand, depending on which hand you put out, is going to be how you interact with the menu. And you pull out your right hand, and there's a couple buttons on there. There's a hamburger menu, there's a cancel button, and there's another button on there to kind of navigate you through the UI. And you're pretty much just living in that menu button. Once you tap on that, then you get this view of all the different applications, which they call lenses, and that you get to interact with. And right now, again, this is a developer product. This isn't something that's out in the wild right now. So right now, this is purely in the hands of developers because they want people to make as many of these applications as possible. So again, these are pretty much just proof of concept type of applications to play with. And the one that I got to play with was basically Guitar Hero-ifying a piano. And what I like about this is that it was a great demo to show exactly what's going on with the Snap Spectacles in terms of what it's honing on and how to actually interact with physical objects with this UI element. So when I sat down, it was actually very cool. And my analogy here was that if you've ever been in a Tesla and you've turned on autopilot, obviously there is a digital lock that puts you into that lane, and that's what it felt like, and that's the sensation I got when I was using these Snap glasses, and it was kind of like looking at the piano to lock into where these keys were. Once it was locked in, it was almost like this digital lock-in that almost felt physical because it was all being shown on me there. And I was able to get some screen recording of what that situation was like, and within 5 minutes I was able to learn a little section of a song as somebody who has pretty much never played piano in their entire life. So it was kind of cool to see exactly how this works in this situation. You're essentially playing Guitar Hero on the piano, and it works so well. It's so easy to understand. You don't need to read anything. Everything's being read out to you. There's music playing in the background, but then also you're learning how to play piano and you're learning the ins and outs of it. And this applies to a bunch of these different applications where I was with my colleague Michael, and he was playing chess on the other side with somebody else wearing another pair of Snap Spectacles. That's a great segue into what their idea here is. They want Snap Spectacles to be something that you'd use with other people. And I did notice that there's a bunch of other applications which I didn't get to test out, like there's a golf game, there's even a game that's similar to the piano situation but on a basketball court where it scans a basketball court and teaches you how to shoot the perfect shot and the angles to shoot the shot and the rotation and things like that. So again, the UI gives you this kind of futuristic retro feel where, again, it's not super high definition. Like when I was thinking about the Vision Pro when using these things, which are different products, but with the Vision Pro, everything was very crisp, everything was very clean, the resolution was very tight. This was, even though the resolution was relatively high, it still felt a little bit more retro-y, and that's because of the field of view. So with the field of view of the Vision Pro, you can pretty much see 90 to 100 degrees on either side, meaning that you feel like you are fully immersed. Versus with the Snap Spectacles, your field of view is about 46 to 47 degrees, meaning that the way that I describe it is that imagine that there's a block or a square where everything is happening, and again, it's all still in the real world and still able to eye track and still able to stay where you left a certain application or a certain UI element, but the field of view is just much more narrow. It's kind of like you're looking straight ahead, and the moment you divvy off to the right or left, it kind of gets cut off until you come back into that field of view. So that's something that they're definitely working on. And again, there's only so much you can do with the technologies that they have right now, and that's what this is. This is a showcase of what they have right now, what they're capable of doing right now, and what the future is going to look like moving forward. But that being said, even though this is a developer product, technically anybody can actually get a pair of these. And the way that you do this is you apply for their developer program, and then you do have to pay for them. It's about $100 a month, but you do have to commit to it for an entire year, meaning that you can get a pair of these glasses for $1,200, which as a developer and as somebody who likes to adopt things on the bleeding edge and see what people are doing is not that absurd of a price, but at the same time I understand why they're not making this a consumer-friendly product or a consumer-facing product. They don't want people to go out and expect $1,200 worth of technology or a $1,200 experience when it's not quite there yet and everything is still being built out, both from a UI element, from an application element, from being able to actually understand what's going on, because still the movements that are being tracked are about 90% there, maybe 95% there. So there were some times where I would try to grab something and then it wouldn't pick up on what I was trying to grab, and it took a little while to get used to it. So at the end of the day, I understand why this isn't a consumer-facing product. And then also the battery life is something that remains yet to be improved, because right now you only get about 45 minutes of runtime on these glasses, whereas with other products you can get a lot more. So right now it's kind of a give and take where they want to keep everything compact in this form factor without any other auxiliary products, while still being able to provide an experience that gives you that wow factor, which at the end of the day, this was a wow factor kind of product for me. But that'll just about do it for this video, everybody. I was definitely impressed with what Snap is doing with the Snap Spectacles. Like I mentioned, there's still some things that need to be ironed out, of course, but this is just a showcase of what is possible right now to give you an idea of what this is going to look like 5, 10, 15 years from now, and maybe even sooner, honestly, at this point. But I was definitely a fan of it. I definitely think that this is going to be something that we pick up moving forward. It's just a matter of how we adopt it and how we're going to make this useful in our day-to-day lives, because if they can make this into a pair of glasses that, you know, just look like a normal pair of glasses, and I'm using this to navigate New York City, or using this to find the right subway, or using this to get to a certain restaurant, or using this to order some food, then I can see this being something that a lot of people do adopt, but that remains yet to be seen. But that'll do, like I mentioned. Let me know in the comment down below, is it something that you would pick up? Is it something that you would try out? I'm always curious to know what you guys are thinking, but if you made it to the end, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below so I know you made it to the end. And if you guys want to watch more videos like this one, definitely check out one of these right here. And until next time, I'm Fernando. Peace.